Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I want to begin by stating plainly that DHS takes a zero tolerance approach to fraud. We are committed to program integrity, and we are committed to fighting fraud. And we are committed to providing the data and information necessary to our law enforcement partners so that they can prosecute criminals when we identify them. Since I took the helm of DHS in February, every level of our agency has been engaged in this intensive work to fight fraud in the Medicaid program. Criminals and the various schemes that they've concocted to defraud our Medicaid sophisticated, and it's time for Minnesota to catch up. While single actors and individuals used to be the norm, we are now seeing organized bands of providers gaming the system in concert. Our old processes, based on the type of fraud we used to see, are not sufficient for these coordinated and sophisticated fraud schemes. We need to get ahead and keep ahead of the criminals. And that's what we're here to talk about today. At the governor's direction, DHS has signed a contract with a third-party vendor to scrutinize billing information and data for 14 high-risk Medicaid benefits before we make payments. Payments for these programs will be paused for up to 90 days in order to detect suspicious billing activity and protect the use of public funds. In a minute, Inspector General James Clark will talk about how we decided to focus first on the 14 services. But before I turn it over to Inspector General Clark, I'll share a little bit about what these changes mean for oversight of the fee-for-service Medicaid payments. The advanced technology our vendor Optum brings allows DHS to move upstream, applying advanced analytics to identify risks before we make the payments. Optum brings expertise in claims analysis, supported by advanced analytical tools that we don't have at the state, to detect anomalies and to support program integrity. This prepayment review will be an important business process for DHS as fee-for-service claims come in and before payments go out. DHS will continue its existing prepayment claims process, which includes a system review of more than 700 automated claims checks based on requirements such as prior authorization, service limits, and provider enrollment. Every 2 weeks, DHS will send Optum batches of claims to analyze. Optum will flag the claims they identify as needing further review, and DHS will make the final decisions about payment. If a claim is flagged, we may need additional information and documents from the provider before payments are made. Our intention is to continue to pay most claims within 30 days. But additional review may result in longer wait times, which is why we want providers to understand their payment may be paused up to 90 days. We will still meet federal requirements to pay legitimate claims within 90 days. If signs of fraud are detected, though, DHS will not pay the claim, and providers will be referred to our Office of Inspector General for investigation. Prepayment review is just one part of the governor's recent executive order, empowering state agencies to continue fighting fraud. We're moving more quickly and aggressively than ever before. Earlier this month, we announced that DHS disenrolled about 800 inactive providers in high-risk programs. This action reduces the administrative challenges of overseeing providers who aren't providing services. We're also working to establish a more robust, data-driven post-payment review program and to implement temporary licensing moratorium for new providers in high-risk services. This week also will mark the end of the Housing Stabilization Services benefit. It was a difficult decision, but necessary to protect the integrity of Minnesota's Medicaid program. DHS remains committed to exploring a redesigned version of the program in the future with improved program integrity tools built in up front. It takes all of us working together, the legislature, providers, community members, and agencies, to build programs that serve people well. We need our programs to have the right controls on the front end and the right outcomes on the back end, and program integrity throughout. And I hope we can partner together to get there.
Thank you, Commissioner. As I said, James Clark is DHS's Inspector General. He's going to discuss in more detail how we identified the service categories for this augmented review. So, Inspector General Clark.
Thank you and good afternoon. I want to start by saying that I unequivocally share Commissioner Gandhi's zero-tolerance approach to fraud. Prior to stepping into my role as the DHS Inspector General, I spent nearly a decade at the Attorney General's office where I prosecuted Medicaid fraud. I've seen criminals deploy organized schemes to steal from Minnesota taxpayers, and it angers me to no end that people choose to steal tax dollars that are supposed to go to children and disabled people who depend on Medicaid services. I will do everything in my power to prevent and detect fraud in our programs. Today's announcement about enhanced auditing impacts 14 Medicaid benefits designated as high risk. These benefits were identified as high risk based on investigation results, tips that we've received, an assessment of program vulnerabilities, and our own data analysis. The high risk designation means that these Medicaid benefits are subject to stricter administrative oversight, including mandated fingerprint background studies for providers, on-site screening visits during enrollment, and unannounced site visits to providers to ensure that services are being provided in a legitimate manner. Today's announcement also means that we are using technology now more than ever to identify potential patterns of fraud. This includes looking at rapid growths in billing volume and suspicious billing patterns. DHS has always had fraud detection and auditing functions, but they have largely been post-payment and program-specific, or what I call pay and chase. This moves our fraud detection efforts in an enhanced fashion upstream, so we're not paying and chasing. We will now use advanced technology and collaboration across DHS to identify risks before we make payments. In other words, going forward, and where appropriate, you will need to prove to us that you provided legitimate services before we pay you. I hope today's announcement serves as a warning to those who seek to steal from our state that we are using updated tools and methods to detect and prevent fraud. Again, going forward, if you can't prove to us that the services you are billing are legitimate, we are not going to pay you. And as always, if you try to defraud us, we will shut off the payments, we will refer you to law enforcement, and we will kick you out of our programs. I came to DHS from the Attorney General's office to work on solutions, and that is what today's announcement is. We are taking action and to try to solve these problems that we are dealing with, and I'm excited that we are working on these solutions.
Thank you, Inspector General. Today we also have with us a representative from Optum. Jason Dreyfel is the Chief Operating Officer of State Government Business. I'll put the spelling of his name and his title in the chat along with everyone else who presented today. Jason, we really appreciate your time.
Thank you, and thank you, Inspector General Clark. Optum is pleased to work with the state of Minnesota to strengthen the integrity and accountability in our public health programs. As you've heard today, the Department of Human Services and Optum will launch an advanced AI-enabled prepayment integrity program that helps ensure every Medicaid dollar goes exactly where it's needed, providing care and support for Minnesotans. By moving from a historically pay and chase model to a more proactive system, our partnership will help prevent and reduce errors, waste, and fraud before payments are made. It's a smarter, more efficient approach that helps protect taxpayer resources, reduces administrative burden, and improves transparency across the health system. With more than 25 years of experience in 20 states, Optum has the most robust set of prepayment assets in the nation. Our 20,000 proprietary algorithms and predictive models enable us to assess risk across millions of transactions each day. But beyond our expertise, we bring a deep commitment to our mission to make the health system work better for everyone. Optum is headquartered right here in Minnesota and is proud to help improve the integrity of these programs for the people of our home state.
Thank you, Jason. We really appreciate you being here today. I hope that was a good overview for everybody here, but I imagine that you have questions. So feel free to raise your hand if you have questions, and I'll call on you, and then you can unmute at that time. Kirsten Swanson at KSTP, you are the first one up.
Thank you, and thank you, everyone. I think this question is for Commissioner Gandhi. I'm curious, is it sustainable to have an outside contractor doing this work? Repetitive work, it sounds like, if you're claiming that DHS does have processes in place to flag some of this before it goes out prepayment. Additionally, how long is this contract going to last, and can you tell us how much it costs?
Sure, thank you for that question. Prepayment review is something that many plans across the country do on a regular basis. So it is additive to the checks in our own system that I discussed, the 700 checks that we do before we pay a claim. This is in addition to that, and it is sustainable, whether it's something that a state or an entity does in-house if they have the capability, or they work with a vendor to do. The Minnesota legislature in 2025, this year, passed legislation giving DHS $2.5 million for prepayment review. And this contract is for $2.3 million, and it is a one-year contract. We will evaluate throughout the year how things go and where we think the state needs to go to keep ahead of fraud. The environment and the type of fraud that is happening is ever evolving, and I can't emphasize enough that we have to keep ahead of it. We need every tool in our toolbox to keep ahead of the criminals.
Thank you, Commissioner. Ryan, you're up next, and then after that we'll go to AJ. So Ryan, what is your question? Ryan Faircloth with the Star Tribune.
Yep. I've got a couple quick questions here. First, has DHS completed its assessment of high-risk programs? Like, will the 14 that you flagged as high-risk be the only programs that are flagged as high-risk?
I would say that this is an ongoing effort. So no, I would never say that something is done, that we've figured it out. As I said, the crimes and the criminals are evolving, and so we have to continue looking at our data, looking at our programs in new ways. The 14 are the ones that we have identified to date. And I don't know, James, if you want to say a little bit about how we came up with the 14, but that's what we know now. That's what we're acting on now. And I cannot promise you there won't be another one in the future.
Sure, I can just follow up on that. I think just to echo what Commissioner Gandhi said, I mean, it is ongoing, our review of our programs. This is an initial 14. They're all unique programs, so they all have their unique risks. But in terms of general themes for these types of services, so we've looked at programs that have low barriers to entry for providers. We've looked at programs that have data outlier trends and analysis, so growth in spending and growth in provider number. Like I said, we've looked at our own tips and investigations, both historically and what we have going on currently. We've also gained a lot of information from law enforcement reports prosecutions and investigations about fraud. We've also looked at programs where we've seen connections between providers, right? So a provider that might own one service across many different service types, knowing that it's not a 100% correlation for any of this stuff, but these are kind of indicia of risk. Some of the indicia of risk that we've identified so far for these programs, but our work is ongoing.
Thank you so much, James. AJ at KARE 11, you are up. What's your question?
What percentage of the claims in these 14 programs are fee for service? I think the majority of claims then will not be running through this program. Am I understanding that correctly?
I can jump on that. So managed care organizations have their review processes. So this is on the fee for service portion, you're correct. And I do not have a breakdown of all 14 for you. But overall, big picture in general, around half of DHS services are delivered in managed care. But it may be more than that for these services. Happy to get that for you.
Ballpark, we're looking at about 50% then will be running through this new program.
That would be my estimate, AJ. I can't. I should go back and get that. I don't have that sort of in my head what the proportion is for each. As you recall, with housing stabilization services, we had 90% running through managed care, almost 90%. So it could be higher than 50% that's in managed care. I just would want to go back and check for each one.
And I know this is a specific question. You may not have the answer off the top of your head. Do we know how many individual HSS companies have been suspended to date? Last we chatted, it was 115. I don't know if that's changed.
I would have to get back to you on that number, AJ, to see where things are at now. I know we've taken action against additional providers, but we've also lifted a small number of the payment withholds for providers that have actually demonstrated that their services were legitimate. So that number is constantly kind of fluctuating. So we can follow up and get you the up-to-date number, knowing that the number we give you today might not be the number tomorrow or the next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Inspector General. Kirsten, you have another question? Kirsten with KSTP.
Yeah, thank you. Can you give us a scope of how many providers fall into this category here? I mean, how many programs are we talking about in that vein? How many individuals that are served by these programs are we talking about?
So again, each program is different, and we can follow up with you on the details of those. But we have thousands of providers and many thousands of recipients.
And just one quick follow-up then too. Can you just explain a little bit of the pausing payments? Is this something that is starting now moving forward, or are you retroactively going to pause payments to these providers for the 90 days?
So this is starting now, and just so you know, providers that provide a service have time to submit claims, but this is for all claims that are submitted going forward, and it's on a continual basis. So we will be doing this with every batch of claims that come in.
Thank you, Commissioner. Ryan Faircloth at the Star Tribune, you have a question.
Yeah, just real quick, and I don't know exactly what the communication between DHS and MCOs looks like, but do you know, are they taking any similar steps to kind of assess payments that are going through them to these providers?
Thanks, Ryan. Yes, we just had a roundtable with managed care organizations this week. We meet with them on a regular basis on program integrity issues. We're increasing the frequency of those meetings. And they all, they have various approaches that they use. I'm sure that they could speak, they should be the ones to speak to their processes. But we are working on creating tighter collaboration and coordination so that we are learning from each other and taking action, whether a provider is in the managed care space or the fee-for-service space or both.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other questions? Kirsten, is it Kirsten or Kirsten? I'm so sorry.
It's Kirsten, thank you. I'm sorry.
Kirsten.
Last one. Appreciate your patience with this. I think it's a little complicated for everybody involved. I'm curious. I'm looking at the letter that was sent to CMS on Monday, that was in the release there. Is the federal government? Oh, sorry. Is the federal government aware that you're going to be pausing the fee-for-service claims for all of the providers? Because the way that it's worded in the letter here says that you're implementing the new prepayment review process that could potentially pause fee-for-service claims. The release and what you're saying here is that that's going to be the norm moving forward before they're processed. So can you explain a little bit of the situation there between the letter to the feds and what you're saying now?
Yep, they're the same. So let me just clarify. We are putting claims from these 14 high-risk designated services, the same services noted to CMS. We are putting them through a prepayment review. So they will be looked at in advance, and if everything is fine, they will still be paid within the normal claim cycle, within 30 days. A clean claim, DHS pays within 30 days. However, if there is something missing, concerning, maybe it's an error, maybe it's fraud, or potentially we think it's fraud, then that's going to take a closer review. Optum's going to flag it for us. Our team is going to review it. We're going to check with recipients to see if services, if that's the nature, if it's concerning for that reason, we'll be checking with recipients to make sure services were received. We'll be doing various other investigatory actions if we think it's potentially fraudulent, and we send it to DHS's OIG. And in those instances, that extra work, because that claim was flagged, may take up to 90 days. If the OIG's team determines that it's fraudulent, then of course that's going to be, we're not going to pay it. And that's then going to be referred to law enforcement.
Okay, thank you.